Hi everyone, my name is Mrs. Soloway and I teach ELA WIN. I love to read, and I love to read because reading just allows you to have all different new friends and go to all different new places with every book. I also like to learn a lot in informational text. My favorite book that I'm going to talk about today is called The Crossover by Kwame Alexander. This is a really great book for anybody who likes to read and doesn't like to read, because one of the best things about this book is it's a book in verse. It's also a book about basketball, but it's really a book about family and relationships between family members. I highly recommend it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Miss Sarney. I teach ELA WIN. I love reading because it's an escape and you learn so much about the world around you and other people's perspectives. I also think it's just good for your brain. One of my favorite books is called The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. It is a thicker book, but the chapters are pretty short. I like to tab mine. And it takes place during the Holocaust. And it's about this girl who is taken in by these foster parents. And they end up hiding a Jewish person in their home, and she becomes really close with him. But it's told from the perspective of Death himself, which I think is a really unique and interesting twist. And I would recommend this book to people who like historical fiction or darker humor and just really deeper, meaningful stories and characters.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Therian. I'm a library assistant at the middle school. I love to read because it allows me to walk in someone else's shoes. My favorite book is Pretend She's Here by Lou Anne Rice. The plot starts really quick. It's very exciting. It's about a girl named Emily, and you kind of follow her life. The story teaches you to appreciate things and how to be brave in difficult situations.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mrs. Hampy. I am so excited to give you an idea of the books that I read and to hopefully get you wanting to read. It's a really great thing to do. I loved it. I've done it all my life. It's probably my most favorite thing to do is read. So I have the reasons why I read, so many, but one that stands out is that I use my imagination to picture what the author is describing. And so it transports me all the way around the world in different places, real or fiction. So I just use my imagination. It's really great. I can really get into a book and be almost a background character. The other reason is that it has actually improved my vocabulary, especially when I was younger, your age, a little bit older. As I was reading books, I was learning words that I could use on tests that helped me through tests and stuff. So another great reason to read. So I have so many favorite all-time authors and all-time books that there's just not enough time in the day to list them all or show them all. But I brought some books here that are from my library in the room that I wanted to share with you and reasons why. So first of all, Dr. Seuss. Total favorite. This book, Fox and Socks, it's a tongue twister book. My father read this to me as a child. So that's one of my happy memories of that book and why I have it. Of course, gotta have books about penguins. Yeah, you gotta learn about what they do. This one's about a penguin growing up, but you know me, penguins. This one's a bit older for you, Pride and Prejudice, but it's a classic, and it's one of those that you just never forget once you read, and there are so many adaptations to it. Again, you know me, Titanic. Gotta have Titanic books. There are so many out there. This is written by eyewitness accounts, so you learn stuff about Titanic as you go. And then, of course, we can't forget about the Spanish books in the room. This book is called Don Quixote. If you've been in my room, I have a whole wall dedicated to him and this character. And this was in English and Spanish. I've read both versions. So I really hope we can inspire you to read, pick up something, and get into it. And I hope you enjoy reading for a lifetime. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Ellis, the librarian, and I love reading because it's an escape. It's relaxing and it lets us know that we are not alone in our life situations. One of my favorite books is this one called The Someday Suitcase by Corianne Haydu. I love this book because it's about the strength of friendship and the belief that magic can heal a mysterious illness. I would recommend this book to people who like stories about friends who go the distance for one another.
Hi, my name is Miss Bennett. I am an 8th grade language arts teacher. I wanted to tell you why I love reading today. I love reading because no matter what you want to learn about, no matter what hobby you might want to take up, you can find any kind of information in a book. You can get any knowledge you need or want. Books help you know you're not alone. You can go anywhere in a book. They're sort of magical that way. One of my favorite books is a book by Judy Blume called Tiger Eyes. This book is realistic fiction, and it's about a girl whose family goes through a huge, devastating tragedy. And it's all about how, even though through the worst times in your life, you can still find joy and beauty and rebuild and heal. And it's not an easy road, but it is a road you can successfully walk on and get to the other side. Judy Blume is so amazing, creating characters that you can relate to and that you care about. I recommend this book for anyone who loves realistic fiction and just wants a story that's going to hold their attention and really make them think and take you to a different place for a little while. Anything Judy Blume writes is fantastic. So try out Tiger Eyes and let me know what you think.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Beretti. I teach 8th grade language arts, and I love reading because it takes me to another place, another time, sometimes another dimension. It's a great escape for me. It relieves my stress, and it just makes me happy. My favorite book, that's a tough question. It's like asking me who my favorite child is, but right now my favorite book is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. And I love this book because in it, Jason takes a huge risk and writes an entire story that takes over the time period of 60 seconds, 1 minute, this whole story. And this boy has to decide if he's going to avenge his brother's murder. So it's written in verse, so if you've never read a book written in verse, it looks like this, so it goes really smoothly, seamlessly, and it takes you on a journey from the initial shock of losing a loved one to how to deal with the grief of losing a loved one. So I highly recommend this book to you if you've never read a novel in verse before, or if you like reading about people who are faced with decisions in life that are quite difficult, or if you just want to see how Jason takes risks in this book as far as how he writes it, how he uses the white spaces on the page, and the ending is going to be quite surprising to you. So I would highly recommend The Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds.
Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. LeBlanc. I teach 7th grade language arts, and I love reading because it's really a way to escape reality. And the great thing about reading, there's so many options out there for you, and it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. So whatever you're in the mood for that day, you can totally choose a book or a genre that has your interest. Maybe you want to curl up with a science fiction story one day and escape into space, or another day you might want to get into some historical fiction. I always enjoy having a couple books running, so then I can choose what I feel like I want to read that day. One of my favorite books that I recently read is 2 Degrees by Alan Gratz. This is not a book that I think I would typically enjoy. It's adventure, but what I really loved about this book and was really surprising to me is how fast-paced it was. Each chapter is very, very short, and each chapter ends on a cliffhanger. So each one, I'm like, oh, okay, well, the next chapter is only a couple pages. I'm going to keep reading. So I got through this book very, very quickly. It follows 3 different stories. It's very fast-paced, so it was a really good book. Another book that I have to give a shout out to is Harry Potter. And the reason why I want to talk about this book is when I started reading these books in elementary school, only the first 3 were released. And so I had to wait for each book to come out. And the last book came out when I was in college. So I've had this book since elementary school, and you can see that it's been through some wear and tear, okay? And the reason why is because I read this book, and then my siblings read this book, and then my parents read it, then my nieces, and now my oldest child just finished this book too. So this book has been through generations, and I enjoy being able to pass this down to other generations or future generations. So that's all I want to talk about. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tim Guanci. I'm the 7th grade assistant principal here at TRMS. I love reading because no matter what's going on in your day, it allows you to take a reprieve from any kind of stressful or strenuous situation and connect with different stories from either the past or new stories that you haven't interacted with previously. One of my favorite books is The Longest Winter by Alex Kershaw. It focuses on an intelligence reconnaissance platoon that was set in the Ardennes during the onset of the Battle of the Bulge. And for me, I really loved reading it because it talked about how one platoon was able to make a huge impact on a decisive battle for World War II. I'd recommend it to anybody that really likes military history or World War II stories.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mrs. Hutnick. I'm the 8th grade assistant principal. I'm so happy to be here today to talk about reading. As a former language arts teacher, I just love reading all kinds of books. So if I was going to say why I love reading, I think it's because it takes me to another world. So I can be really busy at school or busy at home, and when I pick up a book, sometimes I don't even want to put it down because I love reading it so much. So I've always been an avid reader. Now that I have grandchildren, I love reading to them, and I hope they become avid readers as well. This is one of my favorite, The Cool Bean, that I read to my granddaughter and my grandson. And I love this book because of the message about helping others. And when people drop their lunch in the cafeteria, someone helps you to pick that up, and you have friends who really care about you. So I love the message in this book. So anyway, that's what I love about reading, and I hope you pick up your books and read because, like I said, there's nothing better than that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Woodworth, one of the middle school assistant principals, and reading is an interesting conversation for me because growing up, especially as I went through middle school, high school, I did not read a lot. And you know, I've got some teachers that are still here to this day that will tell you that if I read more, it might have benefited me. But as I got older, I started to really dive into some more adventure stories and got hooked into reading in a way I hadn't early on in my life, and I regret not reading more. The Harry Potter series was definitely one of those first hooks. I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way. A world that you're just not used to. You get to live in someone else's shoes, feel the emotions, like a safe place to feel the emotions through someone else. And it was kind of a wonderful experience for me, waiting for those books to come out and the excitement. It kind of changed my perspective on reading growing up. Nowadays, I think a lot of the books I read are ones that I can read as my son, who's an avid reader, goes into it. So as he's reading, when at first it was the Harry Potter books, but now the Percy Jackson books and Nevermore and other different adventures, getting to read those alongside him or after him and talk about it and our experiences and our theories. It's been a great way for me to connect with my son and something I look forward to doing.
Hello, my name is Mr. Mensis, and I love reading because it gives me a great opportunity to hang out with my girls as they love doing storytelling and reading about stories. My favorite book, reading with them especially, is The Smart Cookie, and I love the story because it's about a student, or cookie in this case, who is struggling in school, trying to figure out why they're not great at everything in school, but once they find out that they have a passion for writing poetry, they perform it, they do a great job, and they recognize that everybody in their class is good at something. And the real moral of the story is, everybody is a smart cookie.